Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about Evil Season 2, Episode 9, U is for UFO. Okay, and you can watch this on the Paramount Plus streaming service. Evil is heating up. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they did get the green light for Season 3, which I'm excited about. Okay, so in this week on Evil, it talks about the potential UFO sightings. Now, Captain Sampson, a U.S. Air Force pilot, claims she saw something in out-of-this-world spacecraft, an angel or perhaps God, while in the air, leaving her feeling joyful and more close to the Lord than ever before. The church, keeping an open mind, assigns David, Kristen, and Ben, I call them three the hard way, to access, they have to assess the pilot's credibility to see if God created life off of Earth. Now, Ben is able to track down a young student named Asha, who also saw the UFO at the exact same time as the fire pilot. She also describes a feeling of joyfulness passing through her, but admits she was high the whole time, putting her testimony into question. Now, Kristen visits a Air Force nearby, who informs her that the object was simply a Congo-run satellite launch, and the pilot has been grounded until further notice. Okay, so meanwhile, Dr. Boggs agreed to see Kristen and Andy in a joint session for a limited time. Let me just tell you about Andy. To me, Andy is so, how can I say this? He strikes me as a whiny type of dude. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think Kristen really is attracted to her husband, to be honest with you. I really don't. But he goes away, to Colorado for the trekking business, and then he'd be gone for months on end. But he's going away again for a month to close down the business because he wants to be home, because he feels as if, Kristen is acting this way because she got to take on everything and he's not around. So, but anyway, they go and see Dr. Boggs, and he said this is for a limited time session, despite the conflict of interest and presents, but him being the former therapist and all. So he's really Kristen's therapist, but Andy wanted to have a joint session to talk about Kristen. And Andy explains his concerns for Kristen and the various changes she has been going through over the last few months, including her cross burns on her stomach, which are self-inflicted. But she tries to blow it off as it's not self-inflicted, but it is. Kristen, we see what you're doing. I don't know how anybody could do that, but if that's how she's dealing with pain, she need to find something else to do. Now, this is the first time Dr. Boggs hears of this, and he is rightly concerned, but Kristen once again claims that they were accidental. Okay, and Andy also brings up the French fry incident, which has gone viral on YouTube, of course. Kristen defends her actions and her work with the church, saying she is now more empowered and assertive, no longer letting those who hurt her get away with it. I hear you, girl. I hear you, but do they believe it? But, Kristen's actions have consequences beyond herself and the poor man and the guy who got hit with the French fries. Her daughters have seen the video. Of course, their grandmother, Cheryl, she's always doing something she's not supposed to be doing, but she's up there with the grandkids, and they are laughing at the video. And the girls are excited and hysterical to see their moms do this kind of stuff and see their mom as a badass, So during the daughter and grandmother viewing with Cheryl in her best mother-in-law voice, Nancy asks, what I find interesting? Why didn't your dad say anything? Because he was standing right there. That could have been a confrontation, a man-on-man confrontation, but Kristen took things into her own hands. So does that make Andy look weak? I don't know. So Kristen and Andy call a family meeting condemning the French fry incident and announcing that Andy will return to Colorado for 1 month to shut down the climbing business. Andy also wants to start having more family dinners, which scares his daughters into thinking they are becoming religious. Only Mormons do that. Leela says. I laughed when she said that. Still, the damage has already been done. Andy and Kristen are later summoned to Laura's school after she called her teacher a effing liar. Laura was showing the video to her friends, and the teacher did not believe that that was the young girl's mother hitting the guy with the French fry bag. And Kristen clears up the incident and said, yes, that was her. She said, she's not lying. That is me. So that the nun, because, the sister looked kind of like, oh, okay, well, she said she did not only call the teacher a liar, she called her an effing liar. Okay, so that night, while David is practicing his meditation, he gets an unsuspected visit from Leland, who claims, I'm just so sick or tired of Leland, because Leland is playing this game. I don't know why he's doing that. He's just trying to sucker everybody into thinking that he's being attacked, and he's full of it. He gets an unsuspected visit from Leland, who claims he was attacked by a winged monster in a vision. At first, David dismisses Leland's claim as another, farce tale, but when the psychopath draws the same avenging angel from earlier in the season, the priest in training decides to do more investigating. He and Ben checked out the cameras they installed on Leland's computer to see if he was actually dreaming, but David begins to suspect that Leland knows he is being recorded, and I do believe that Leland knows he's being recorded. It turns out David was right to be suspicious, as Leland was lying about the whole entire ordeal. He meets with the demon therapist, who commends Leland for his efforts, but wonders if Leland, in his con to fake an exorcism, actually now wants an exorcism. Now, Leland denies this allegation, but the demon therapist still decides to write a report for the manager to prove he has the will to go through with everything. So now the demon therapist asks Leland to bring the blood to prove it. And his dream journal. Oh, Lord. To see a therapist sitting there and it's a demon therapist, it's like, this could only happen in Leland's world. But anyway, Ben and Kristen, they figure out that there was no satellite launch that day and call in the other two pilots who were flying at the same time as Captain Sampson. While one pilot is adamant they did not see anything, the other is more hesitant. So Ben suspects he is hiding something and gives him his email in case he comes up with any other information. So David continues to struggle with his meditation, seeing images of death, violence, and destruction whenever he closes his eyes. This time around, he also sees himself and Kristen in the nude, lying on top of each other. And like I said, I don't think Kristen is attracted to Andy. I think she is attracted to David. And I think he got a little bit of attraction for her as well. But he cannot act on it because he is a practicing priest. But I think that if he wasn't practicing to be a priest anymore, I think they would have been did the dude. I do. I think they would have been had a little casual one-on-one. But anyway, let's continue. So, in the silence, he hears a strange humming, whispering coming from his computer. He gives the computer to Ben, who's the tech geek. He discovers a chip with an engraved pentagram hidden inside. And at that moment, Ben also receives an email from the pilot containing a video recording of his flight. It shows a small black circular object flying at high speed, displaying a white cross before disappearing in the sky. Okay, so the church jumps on the video, calling Captain Sampson back in for a meeting with Father Catechus, is resident UFO expert, while she did not experience any of the physical sensation he asks about. She does recognize a smell that matches the scent from other recorded sightings. So Father Catechus asks to meet with Asha, arguing that the Vatican is extremely interested in extraterrestrial life and its implications on original sin. If there are other beings, could they be free of original sin? Will they not even be aware of what it was? Or are we missionaries asked to share the gospel as we did with the indigenous people in the New World he posts? He talks about. Later that day, Kristen is approached by a man named Edgar Loudermilk, who claims to be working for the American government. He says the video Kristen and her team stumbled upon is not religious or supernatural, but a Russian drone the Americans are hoping to study. He asks Kristen to stand down, a request she brings to the church. Now, the Vatican sends Victor Lecantz, a member of the Vatican intelligence agency known as the Entity, who dismisses Loudermilk's claim, saying that it does not line up with his international intelligence and that they will be traveling to Rome to further evaluate the situation. He also happens to have an RSM fertility pamphlet on him. You wanted me to see that, right? David asks. I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't answer back. Let's handle one thing at a time, shall we, David? Now, the next day, Asha and Captain Sampson retract their statements, have been bribed by the government. Asha got a spot at MIT. Captain Sampson was allowed to fly again. Lecant also tells David that he is not going after RSM fertility and that David should drop it too. But David is undeterred and decides to go after the clinic anyway. Okay, so seeking the blood for his next session with the demon therapist, Leland goes to see Cheryl, of course, interrupting one of her sacrifices to Eddie, which I'm sick of that stupid doll. She of course, says no, so Leland takes matters into his own hands by hacking off the demon therapist's head and wiping the blood on his face, Joker style. I'm telling you, Leland is a mess. The next night, Cheryl stopped by his apartment, agreeing to give him blood, but he doesn't need it anymore. So Leland invites her into dinner. I have a knife in my purse, she warns him, and he says, I have a knife in my apron. We'll just keep each other on our toes. He flirts back as the two sit down to enjoy some spicy goat soup. Okay, so realizing Dr. Boggs can no longer help her, Kristen goes to see David for advice. Why are you so angry, he asks. Because I hate people, she answers. I look at everyone in my day, every single person, and I realize they're awful. And I don't want to hear that people are essentially good and that they want to do good, because I don't think they do. Being the great priest that David is, David validates her feelings, okay, sermonizing about America's obsession with purity and inability to admit something is wrong. His solution, apologizing, saying sorry, admitting something is actually wrong. Not sure exactly what to do with this, Kristen exits the room, but not before offering her own piece of advice to David. Don't be a priest. So, He, you know, at that moment, he grabs her and gives her a hug. They have this closeness, this hug, because I think she wants to be intimate with him. You know what I'm saying? And I think he wants to be intimate with her. So they have feelings for each other. I just want to see how this plays out. So that night, while in bed with Andy, Kristen takes David's advice to heart and apologizes. I'm sorry for not being myself. She says, be patient with me. That is what she tells her husband. So overall, this was a very interesting episode. It's kind of cool. I liked it. But I'm interested to see what happens with David and this him being a practicing priest. And I'm also interested to see where Kristen and Andy's relationship is going to go. And I also want to see how they're going to bust Leland bubble by telling him that they know what he's up to. And I'm sick of Cheryl and that doll. I wish they just do away with this already. What is this doll supposed to be? What is she sacrificing? Is it even working for her? It doesn't seem like it is. So I want to see how far everything is going to go. If you like this episode, let me know in the comment section. Please give this video a thumbs up. And if you'd like to see more of my evil review and recaps, I have them all in the playlist. Go check it out. And I will talk to you guys later.